Hi, we're Rob and Jeannie Koshan, and we're been members of Grace for 20 years now. As far as gospel truth and where we're living now and what we're doing, we're in a difficult place. We're in a very high crime rate. We're working in townships where it's the equivalent of the inner city of Chicago. If you don't understand gospel truth and that God is a sovereign God in control of all things, you will not do these things because we don't have the strength. I cannot do this. You cannot do this without just understanding He is who He is, He's done what He's done, and He will continue to do what He says He will despite us.
We can easily be convicted by a sermon, but then we can walk out of here and say, what's for lunch? And then nothing ever changes. And so for us, just staying focused on Christ and really looking at His truth all the time. We are constantly sitting around a table with anywhere from 6 to 15 people looking at God's truth. Because being convicted, I think, is a one-time thing, but then having God actually change your heart is something that, literally changes your life forever. In Africa, we have the ability to meet a lot of needs, and those needs can be buying people groceries, it can be getting a uniform for a little girl so she can go back to school, it can be getting a little boy his medication that is struggling with AIDS so that he can go back to school. But then when we meet those tangible needs, then we also get to share Christ with them as well. We've been able to help people, we've had our kids be able to help people, and then we've also been able to see them come to Christ. And God allows us to be a part of that and uses our inadequacies to bring people to know Him better, which is something that is amazing to be a part of.
And when we went there, I was battling greatly. I just was struggling with the day-to-day things, and we just couldn't find our niche. We couldn't find where God wanted us and how He wanted to serve. And again, we were making it more difficult than it needed to be. We were looking for that great thing to come back and tell you guys, look what we've done, look at, and God's not about that. And so through that situation, we had one gentleman that I had met with that was in a year-long program with us, and he was struggling, he was lying, he was trying to be something he wasn't, he wasn't resting in gospel truth and that God is the one who does the work and he doesn't have to be the hero. And so through that, we had a meeting that I could not have orchestrated, and I just felt the Holy Spirit say, you need to take this gentleman into your house. So he was a 22-year-old man, and it actually was one of the guys that Jeannie said in the beginning, not him. It's just the least likely to have, and God goes, I know better. And so He came into our house, He lived with us, He struggled with us, He fought with us, just to wrestle through what is gospel truth, what is God truly saying, and do we believe it? And if we believed it, what would it look like? And so to see this gentleman that almost left the program because I challenged him to truth. I challenged him, do you want this or do you just want the idea of this? He came to Christ, and it was amazing. Broke down, wept, and cried and said, I've never felt so free. He lived with us, he grew with us, and now we are serving side by side in this township, and it's just amazing to see the transformation that God has done in this young man's life. And I look at it and I said, that's it. Disciples who make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. And we have to get out of the couch and get up and make disciples. Let them into our home. Let us see them struggle. That is what it's about. It's like walking on water. When we focus on Him, nothing's impossible. This drug addict can change. This assassin that we're working with, he can change. I can change only through Christ. But as soon as I look at the storm around me, we fall. We want to retreat back and protect our children, protect our family. There's diseases. There's all these things. And if you do not understand the gospel truth and God is who He is and believe it and live it, you will never be where He wants you to enjoy His true peace.
That goes back to probably started years ago with losing our daughter. We have to know that as the storm is going on around us, that God is with us and He gives us that peace in the middle of the storm. And I think oftentimes when we are out and about in the communities that we're working in, I sometimes can see a storm going on around me, and I can almost want to pack up the kids and go and leave, but then I know God has us here for a reason, and He's bigger than this township, He's bigger than our family, He's bigger than anything that we've ever seen, and He will take care of us when we're in those situations.